Have you ever worked a night shift when the world is asleep and you're alone with your thoughts? Sometimes you feel a chill that's not just a cold. Something watches from the shadows. Tonight, we're diving into 3 true stories from night shift workers that will make you question what's really out there in the dark. These tales are not for the faint of heart. So, dim the lights, grab a blanket, and prepare to be haunted by the horrors of the midnight shift. Welcome to Midnight Shift Horror. 8 true stories to haunt you tonight. Let's begin. These stories unfold in places you might know. Workplaces that turn eerie when the sun sets. We're talking about haunted hospitals, abandoned offices, and factories that hum with secrets. Each tale is based on real accounts, whispered by those who lived them. First, we'll meet Nurse Emily, who saw a patient at St. Mary's Hospital who wasn't supposed to be there. Then, we'll follow security guard Mike, who faced shadows that move on their own in an old office building. Finally, we'll join worker Tom, who heard whispers in a factory that should have been silent. All these horrors happen during the midnight shift. Why does the night bring out these terrors? Let's find out. Working the night shift feels like stepping into another world. The silence presses against you, broken only by the hum of machines or the creak of a floorboard. Your mind starts to wander. Is that shadow moving? Did you hear a whisper? Most shrug it off as fatigue. But what if it's real? What if something lingers in these empty places, waiting for the clock to strike midnight? These workers thought they were alone, but they were wrong. Something was with them, something that didn't belong. Let's start with Nurse Emily, whose night at St. Mary's Hospital changed everything she believed. Emily had worked the night shift at St. Mary's for years. The hospital was old, its halls lined with faded paint and stories of strange happenings. She laughed off the ghost tales her co-workers shared over coffee. But one night, around 2 a.m., she felt a chill as she walked past room 313. The door was ajar, and a faint light spilled out. That was odd. Room 313 was empty, or so the chart said. Curious, she peeked inside. A man sat on the bed, his back to her, wearing a tattered hospital gown. "Sir, are you okay?" she called softly. He turned, his face pale, eyes sunken like dark pools. "Help me," he whispered, his voice like dry leaves. Then he was gone. The bed was empty. Emily's heart pounded. She checked the room, but no one was there. Who was that man? Why did he vanish? Shaken, Emily couldn't let it go. She dug into the hospital's records, her hands trembling as she flipped through dusty files. Room 313 had a history. Back in the 1950s, a patient called John Doe was admitted there. He wasn't like other patients. He was part of a secret experiment, something the hospital never spoke of. One night, John was found lifeless in his bed. No cause of death was listed. The case was closed fast, too fast. Whispers among the staff said John's death wasn't natural. Some claimed he'd seen things that drove him mad. Emily wondered if the man she saw was John, still trapped in that room, begging for help. But why now? Why her? Emily search led her to the hospital's archives, a basement room filled with forgotten files. There, she found a journal, its pages yellowed and brittle. It belonged to Dr. Heinrich, the man behind the experiment. His notes were frantic, detailing tests on John to bridge the gap between life and death. They used strange methods, things no doctor should try. The final entry chilled her. John speaks of voices from beyond. He's changing. We've gone too far. Emily's breath caught. Had they opened a door to something dark? Was John's spirit caught between worlds because of what they did? She felt a pull to help him, but fear gnawed at her. What if helping him meant facing that darkness? Now, let's shift to another workplace, one just as haunted. Security guard Mike worked a night shift at an old office building downtown. Most floors were empty, the tenants long gone. Mike liked the quiet. It gave him time to think. But one night, as he watched the security cameras, he froze. On the 5th floor monitor, a shadow moved across the hall. It wasn't a rat or a flickering light. It was tall, human-shaped, but blurry, like it didn't belong. Mike's stomach twisted. He grabbed his flashlight and headed to the 5th floor, his boots echoing in the silence. What was waiting up there? When Mike reached the 5th floor, the hallway was empty. No signs of anyone. He checked each office, his flashlight beam shaking. Nothing. But as he turned to leave, he heard footsteps behind him. They were slow, deliberate. He spun around, heart racing, but the hall was still empty. Then, out of the corner of his eye, he saw it, a dark figure slipping into an office. He followed, his breath shallow, but the room was deserted. Back in the security room, he rewound the footage. The shadow was there, clear as day, moving down the hall. But the timestamp made his blood run cold. It was recorded while he was on that floor. How could that be? Mike needed answers. He started researching the building's past. What he found sent chills down his spine. In the 1920s, the building was home to a group called the Order of the Eclipse. They weren't your typical tenants. They held secret meetings, rumored to involve strange rituals. One night, several members vanished. No bodies, no clues. The police searched but found nothing. The case was buried. Mike remembered something else. A symbol he'd seen in the basement, carved into the wall. It matched descriptions of symbols used by the Order. Was a shadow he saw tied to those lost souls? Or was it something worse? Here's where things get stranger. Could these hauntings be linked? Is something stirring in these workplaces? Something that only wakes at midnight? We'll dig deeper soon, but first, let's visit our final story. Worker Tom had spent years at a factory on the edge of town. The place was old, its machines creaking like tired bones. Lately, things fell off. Machines would start on their own. Whispers echoed in empty rooms. One night, as Tom checked the assembly line, he saw something etched into a machine, a symbol ancient and jagged, like a warning. It made his skin crawl. What was it doing there? Tom tried to brush it off, but the whispers grew louder. They weren't just in his head. The machines moved faster, almost alive. One night, he saw a reflection in a metal panel, a tall figure with glowing eyes standing behind him. He whipped around, but no one was there. His heart pounded. He remembered the symbol and looked it up. It was tied to ancient rituals, meant to call spirits. The factory, he learned, was built on a Native American burial ground. Disturbing that land was said to anger its guardians. Had someone carved that symbol to summon something? Tom felt dread settle in his bones. Then came the worst news. Another worker vanished during the night shift. It was the third disappearance that month. The last message from the missing man was a panic radio call. It's here. It's coming. No one knew what it was. Tom thought of the figure in the reflection, the symbol, the whispers. He dug deeper and found stories of the burial ground spirits, protectors who punished those who trespassed. The factory's history was littered with accidents and vanishings, all swept under the rug. Tom feared he was next. Whatever haunted this place wasn't letting go. We dove into 3 terrifying tales from night shift workers who faced the supernatural in their workplaces. Nurse Emily at St. Mary's Hospital saw a patient who vanished into thin air. Security guard Mike encountered shadows that moved on their own in an old office building. Worker Tom heard whispers in a factory that should have been silent. But here's the chilling part. Each story featured a strange, jagged symbol that didn't belong. Is this symbol the key to these hauntings? Tonight, we'll follow Emily, Mike, and Tom as they uncover more horrors and face truths that will shake you to your core. Let's get started. First, let's return to St. Mary's Hospital, where Emily was still reeling from her encounter in room 313. That ghostly patient, John Doe, haunted her dreams. She couldn't forget his sunken eyes or his plea for help. The journal she found in the archives, written by Dr. Heinrich, hinted at a secret experiment gone wrong. Emily felt a pull to free John's spirit, but the journal's ritual scared her. It spoke of candles, chance, and risks. Still, she couldn't let it go. One night, after her shift, she sneaked back to room 313, her heart pounding. She lit candles, their flames flickering like nervous eyes. She read the incantation, her voice trembling. The air grew cold and the lights dimmed. John appeared, his form faint but clear. "Help me," he whispered, reaching out. Emily pressed on, but something fell off. The shadows in the room thickened, swirling like smoke. John's face twisted, his eyes glowing red. "You freed me," he growled, his voice no longer his own. It was deep wrong. Hungry. Emily froze. She hadn't freed John. She'd unleashed something else. Something dark that had been trapped with him. The shadows lunged at her, and she bolted, slamming the door behind her. In the nurse's station, she caught her breath, her hands shaking. What had she done? The symbol from John's file was now etched into the wall, glowing faintly. It pulsed like a heartbeat. Emily's stomach churned. She needed answers. She posted about the symbol on an online forum for paranormal experiences, hoping someone could help. Little did she know, her actions had stirred something far bigger than St. Mary's. The darkness she'd freed was spreading, and it wasn't alone. Now, let's check in with Mike, the security guard at that eerie office building. The shadow he saw on the cameras still haunted him. It wasn't just a trick of the light. It moved with purpose. Mike dug deeper into the Order of Eclipse, the group tied to the building's past. He found an old article about their disappearance in the 1920s. Witnesses reported strange lights and chants that night, then silence. Mike remembered the symbol in the basement, carved into the wall. It matched the Order's descriptions. He decided to investigate, grabbing his flashlight and heading downstairs. The basement was colder than before, the air heavy. The symbol was there, but it seemed larger, its edges sharper. Strange writing surrounded it, in a language he couldn't read. As he snapped a photo, his camera died and his flashlight flickered. Footsteps echoed behind him. Slow, deliberate. He spun around, but the hall was empty. The footsteps grew louder, circling him. Mike's heart raced. He felt eyes on him, unseen but close. He ran upstairs, locking the door, but the feeling followed him. Back in the security room, Mike checked the monitors. The shadow was there again, on the basement camera, standing still. But the basement was empty when he was there. How? He searched online and found a forum thread about the Order. Users claimed they were trying to open a portal to another realm, seeking power from entities beyond. Their ritual failed, trapping something between worlds. The symbol was meant to hold it, but now it was active. Mike's blood ran cold. Had he disturbed it? Then an email popped up from an unknown sender. The subject read, "You've awakened it." Inside was one line, "The symbol is a key. Find the book." Mike's hand shook. What book? Who knew he was looking? He felt trapped, like the shadow was watching, waiting for his next move. Meanwhile, at the factory, Tom was desperate for answers. The whispers, the symbol, the vanishings. It was too much. He called his friend Sarah, a paranormal investigator, and begged for help. She arrived that night with gear. EMF readers, voice recorders, cameras. They headed to the machine where Tom saw the symbol. Sarah studied it, her face grim. "This is a ward," she said. "It's meant to protect, but it's been twisted to summon something." Tom's stomach dropped. "Summon what?" Sarah shrugged. "Spirits, maybe worse. This factory's on a burial ground. Someone's messing with forces they don't understand." As she spoke, the EMF reader spiked, and a whisper hissed to the recorder, "Leave now." Tom's skin prickled. Sarah's eyes widened. "We need to go," she said, grabbing her gear. But the machines roared to life, lights flickering. Shadows gathered, forming a figure with glowing eyes, the same one Tom saw before. It loomed over them, its presence heavy. Sarah chanted a banishing ritual, but the figure only grew angrier. It lunged, and they ran, barely escaping. "Outside," Sarah panted. "Someone did this on purpose. We need to know who." Tom thought of the factory's shady history. Rumors swirled about a secret group pulling strings. He researched and found the Order of the Eclipse had funded the factory's construction, choosing its site for its sacred past. They'd use it for rituals, and the night shift workers were pawns. Tom needed to warn others, but didn't know how. He found the same forum Emily and Mike were on, seeing their posts about the symbol. His heart raced. They were all connected. He messaged them, hoping they'd respond. Emily was already on the forum, desperate for answers. She posted about the symbol and got a reply from Mike, who shared his story about the Order. They messaged back and forth, piecing things together. Tom's message popped up, linking their experiences. They decided to meet at a 24-hour diner nearby. Sitting in a booth, they introduced themselves, their faces tense. Emily showed the journal. Its pages filled with cryptic notes about experiments. Mike shared his findings on the order's portal attempts. Tom explained the burial ground and its angry spirits. They realized the symbol tied their stories together, used in rituals, experiments, and summonings. But why was it active now? What was the order planning? As they talked, Emily's phone buzzed. An email from an unknown sender read, "You're in danger." The message warned, "The ritual is nearly complete. The portal opens tonight. Stop it, or something terrible will come through." Attached was a map showing their workplaces, hospital, office, factory, linked by underground tunnels. The order used these for ceremonies, it said. The final ritual is there tonight. They stared at each other, fear mixing with resolve. Who sent this? Could they trust it? They had no choice. Time was running out. They drove to the hospital. The night dark and silent. In the basement, they found a hidden tunnel entrance behind a false wall. Flashlights in hand, they descended. The tunnels were damp, walls slick with moss and strange markings. The map led them to a vast chamber with an altar, the symbol carved into it, candles flickering around. An open book lay on the altar, its pages filled with incantations. But it was empty. Had they missed it? Then, chanting echoed from deeper in. They hid behind crates and saw hooded figures in a circle, a man with a dagger leading the ritual. Above the altar, a portal swirled, dark and pulsing. They had to act. Emily remembered her journal's counter-rituals to close portals. She whispered a chant, Mike and Tom joining in, their voices shaky but firm. The hooded figures turned, their leaders shouting, "Stop them." But the portal flickered, its energy faltering. Emily's chant grew louder, and the portal collapsed with a flash. The figures fled, vanishing into the tunnels. Silence fell, heavy and tense. Relief washed over them. But they knew it wasn't over. Who sent the email? Why help them? Back on the surface, another email waited. "I'm glad you stopped them. I'm a former order member, against their plans. But be careful, they'll come for you now." Emily, Mike, and Tom exchanged glances. They were in deep now, marked by the order. They needed to stay sharp, maybe expose this group or end it for good. For now, they'd stopped a nightmare from crossing over. But the order didn't vanish. They're still lurking, and our trio is on their hit list. Tonight, we're wrapping up their tale with a new face who stumbled into the same nightmare. Buckle up for a wild ride that'll make you rethink those late-night shifts. Let's rewind a bit. After shutting down that portal, Emily, Mike, and Tom got a chilling email. You can't stop what's coming. The order wasn't finished. They were just getting started. The trio kept digging, meeting at their usual diner to plan their next move. They knew the order's reach went beyond the hospital, office, and factory. Other night workers had posted on the forum about weird stuff too. Vanishing co-workers, odd noises, that same jagged symbol popping up. One post stood out. A guy named Jake, a janitor at Westfield High School. His story was about to pull them all into a bigger mess than they'd ever imagined. Jake had been cleaning the school for years. It was quiet at night, just him, his mop, and the hum of flickering lights. But a few weeks back, things got strange. He'd hear footsteps in empty halls, see shadows dart past locked doors. One night, he found a classroom trashed, desks flipped, books shredded, and that symbol scratched into the chalkboard. He thought it was vandals until he heard a voice whisper his name from the air vent. Jake. It hissed low and raspy. He bolted, but the next night, it got worse. In the gym, the basketball hoop rattled like someone was slamming it, though no one was there. Then he saw it. The symbol burned into the wooden floor. Freaked out, Jake posted on the forum. Anyone else seen this weird mark? I think my school's haunted. Emily replied fast. We've seen it too. Meet us. At the diner, Jake spilled everything. The group compared notes, and it clicked. The order wasn't just after them. They were targeting places where people worked alone at night, places tied to old secrets. Mike pulled out his map again, adding the school. It didn't fit the pentagram from before, but Emily had a hunch. Maybe it's not about the shape, she said. Maybe it's about the people. Tom frowned. You mean us? She nodded. We stopped them once. Now they're coming for us, and anyone like us. They decided to check out Westfield High. Jake led them through the dark halls. The air thick with tension. In the basement, they found a locked storage room. Jake jimmied it open, revealing stacks of dusty yearbooks and boxes. One box was different, newer, with a symbol scratched on top. Inside were paper photos and a map of the city marked with red dots. The hospital, office, factory, school, and more. A note read, "The chosen will anchor the veil." Sarah's voice shook. "What's the veil?" Mike found a photo of a hooded figure holding a staff, the same one from the tunnels. "Whatever it is," he said, "they're not done." The group split the papers, piecing it together. The order believed night workers, people isolated in the dark, had a special energy. They'd been watching Emily, Mike, Tom, and now Jake, marking them as chosen for a ritual to tear open the veil, a barrier between our world and something awful. The symbols were anchors, binding their energy to the ritual. So they're using us? Tom asked. Emily nodded. And if we don't stop them, they'll finish it. Jake pointed to the map. Look, there's a date. Tomorrow night, during the lunar eclipse. Time was ticking. They hatched a plan. The order needed all the anchors active to succeed. If they could destroy the symbols at each spot before the eclipse, the ritual would fail. But it was a long shot. They'd have to split up again, and the order was watching. That night, they geared up. Emily headed to the hospital, Mike to the office, Tom to the factory, and Jake to the school. Each had a tool, hammer, crowbar, anything to smash the symbols. As the moon darkened, they got to work. Emily crept into room 313, the symbol glowing brighter than ever. She swung her hammer, shattering it, dust flying. Mike was in the office basement, prying the symbol off the wall, sparks flashing. Tom torched the factory machine, the metal hissing as the symbol melted. Jake was in the gym, hacking at the floor with an axe, with splintering. But as they worked, the air grew heavy. Shadows moved, hooded figures closing in. The order knew they were fighting back. At the school, Jake heard the whispers again, louder now. You can't stop it, they taunted. A figure lunged from the dark, knocking him down. He swung his axe, driving it back, and finished the symbol. At the hospital, Emily dodged a figure with a knife, smashing the last piece just in time. Mike wrestled one off him, breaking the symbol with a final blow. Tom's arm got slashed, but he melted the mark and stumbled out. The eclipse peaked and the ground trembled. Somewhere deep below, a roar echoed, then silence. Back at the diner, they collapsed into a booth, battered but alive. The TV flickered on, showing reports of tremors across the city, blamed on a gas leak. They knew better. The veil hadn't opened, but something had stirred. Tom's arm was bandaged, Jake's hand shook, and Emily's eyes were distant. We stopped them, Mike said, but it sounded hollow. The order was hurt, not gone. And those red dots on the map? Some were still out there, unmarked, waiting. So that's it for Midnight Shift Horror. 8 true stories to haunt you tonight. Emily, Mike, Tom, and Jake face the darkness and won. For now. But next time you're alone at work, listening to the quiet, think about those shadows. Are they just tricks of the light? Or something more? Keep watching, because the night's full of stories, and some might find you.